The Spanish Colonies, Lesson 1, page 146. You are there. For many days now, warriors from your Hopi village have been watching the actions of the newcomers. You have heard stories about how they ride animals much larger than wolves. You have also heard that sometimes when they arrive in a new place, a sickness sweeps across the land. You see one of the warriors making an arrowhead. Are we going to war, you ask? We shall see, he says, but we must be prepared. Page 147, New Spain. By the 1500s, several European nations, including Spain, had sent explorers to claim the land in the Americas. Most explorers stepped onto a beach and claimed the land for hundreds of miles around. They knew little about the lands they were claiming. After claiming the lands, these explorers moved on. No one stayed behind to protect the claims. The European countries were competing with each other to win control of as much of the Americas as possible. Often more than one country claimed the same land. Native Americans already lived in most places the explorers claimed. Usually, no one paid attention to anyone else's rights or claims. Spain had already claimed large parts of the Americas. However, Spain learned that claiming land was not the same as controlling it. Spain came to understand that it needed to protect its lands in the Americas from other European nations. Spain also tried to overpower Native American tribes and take their lands. Spain formed colonies to protect its lands and to govern the people there. A colony is a land ruled by another country. The colony of New Spain was formed in 1535, with most of its land in Mexico and its capital in Mexico City. New Spain also included many islands in the Caribbean Sea and the Spanish lands now north of what is now Panama. Page 148, Slavery in the Americas. At first, very few Europeans settled in the Americas. After more gold and silver were found, many more colonists came. They hoped to get rich. Others came to start large farms called plantations. By 1550, there were about 100,000 Spanish colonists spread across the Americas. To the south of New Spain, Portugal formed the colony of Brazil. Both Spain and Portugal needed many workers to grow crops and to mine gold and silver. They forced the Native Americans they had conquered into slavery. Slavery is the practice of holding people against their will and making them work without pay. Many thousands of Native Americans died from hunger and the work they did. Thousands more died from diseases such as measles and smallpox that settlers brought with them. Diseases sometimes killed whole tribes. Some colonists became concerned about how the Native Americans were being treated. One such colonist was Bartholomew de las Casas. Las Casas was a landowner who later became a priest. He freed his enslaved workers and spoke out in favor of better treatment of Native Americans. As more Native Americans died, the colonists needed workers. They began to purchase Africans who had been taken from their families and sold into slavery. Most of these Africans were taken to Brazil or the Caribbean islands. Soon they were also working under terrible conditions. Page 149. Settling the borderlands. Spain also wanted to protect its lands north of Mexico City. These lands on the edge of Spain's claims were called borderlands. The borderlands included parts of what are today northern Mexico and the southern United States from Florida to California. Spanish soldiers led the way, building presidios, or forts, in the borderlands. In 1565, Pedro Menendez de Avilas and 1,500 soldiers, sailors, and settlers sailed from Spain. The same year, they reached the area that is now St. Augustine, Florida. There they built the first permanent or long-lasting European settlement in what is now the United States. Spain's main goal in settling the borderlands was to protect its empire. The Spanish king chose leaders to govern each new settlement. Settlers in the new colonies did not have the right to elect their own leaders. The king also sent missionaries to convert Native Americans to Christianity. The missionaries built religious settlements called missions in many areas of the southern half of North America. In 1610, Spanish missionaries helped settle Santa Fe, the capital of the New Mexico colony. In such places, missionaries and Native Americans lived very near each other. Page 150. At first, some Native Americans chose to stay at the missions. There they learned new ways of living and working. However, many Native Americans were forced to work on mission farms and ranches. Some fought back, tearing down churches and other mission buildings. Some settlers in the borderlands held much land. Some built large homes or estates called haciendas, where they often raised cattle and sheep. The Spanish and the animals they brought with them changed life for many Native Americans. Horses, long extinct in the Americas, once again roamed the land. Some Native American tribes learned to tame horses for using in hunting and in war. Some learned to raise sheep and to use their wool to make clothing.